Pull the plug. The word slipped from Captain Mira Holt's lips like a final breath. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled just slightly, the kind of tremor that comes after holding a planet's fate too long. The command deck of the Ardent Dawn was drenched in crimson light, alarms pulsing like a heartbeat gone wrong. Every console screamed data. Enemy fleet approaching, shields collapsing, oxygen thinning. Beyond the observation glass, space was alive with horror. 1,000 black ships shaped like shards of obsidian, cutting through the void toward Earth's last line. "Captain?" Lieutenant Jace murmured, disbelief fighting through the static of his headset. "You can't mean—" "I said pull it, Jace." Mira's green eyes flared in the dim light. "We've tried everything else." He froze, staring at her. Around them, the bridge crew held their breath. No one dared move. The enemy was called the Kerjul, a species born of silence and shadow, their voices more like vibrations than speech. They had no mercy. They erased worlds for efficiency. For 12 years, humanity had been losing. Every plan, every weapon, every brilliant countermeasure, crushed under the Kerjul's cold precision. Now at the edge of Earth's system, this was it. Commander Lyra Voss's voice came through the comm, rough with exhaustion. "Mira, the last evacuation transport just cleared orbit. If you're going to do something, make it count." Mira didn't answer. She walked slowly to the center console, where a pulsing holographic interface shimmered. The Last Light Protocol, a classified program no one had dared to activate. Its purpose had been debated for years. Some said it was a weapon. Others whispered it was humanity's surrender writ in code. "Captain," Jace whispered again, his voice cracking. "If we run it, there's no undo. No signal, no communication, no fleet cohesion. We'll vanish from every scanner in the galaxy." Mira's gaze turned distant. Maybe that's exactly what they won't expect. The silence stretched. The ship trembled as another blast rocked the hull. Sparks fell like golden rain. Somewhere deep in the decks below, the sound of rushing air hissed, a hull breach sealed too late. Outside, the Kerjul fleet drew closer, their black ships cutting through the starlight like predators sensing blood. "Captain Holt," a deep synthetic voice said from the console. The ship's AI Solace had begun to interface. "Do you confirm activation of Last Light?" She looked at the holographic projection of Earth, half shadow, half glow. The home she'd sworn to defend. "I confirm," she said softly. "Authorization complete," Solace replied. "Program will initiate in T-2 minutes." The crew stared at her. Jace took a step forward. "Mira, what does it do?" Her lips curved into a small, tired smile. "It ends the war." The floor vibrated as the Kerjul fired another barrage. The bridge's main screen cracked, showing only static and streaks of fire. For a heartbeat, the only sound was the pulsing alarm. Then Solace's voice broke through again. "Warning! Incoming transmission from Kerjul command vessel." "Patch it through," Mira ordered. A low hum filled the air, like the growl of a mountain before an avalanche. Then a voice, alien, layered, resonant, spoke in perfect human English. "Humanity," it said, cold and vast. "Your resistance is inefficient. Cease, there is no negotiation." Mira took a breath. "That's the funny thing about us," she said. "We don't cease. We choose." The alien paused. "Choice is irrelevant. Outcome is fixed." "Not this time," she turned to her crew, her voice rising over the alarms. "Broadcast my signal to every channel. Earth, colonies, outposts, everyone." "Broadcast ready?" Jace said. Mira stepped close to the mic, her face illuminated by the flickering red lights. "This is Captain Mira Holt of the Ardent Dawn. To the Kerjul. We're done." Static crackled. "Clarify," the alien voice demanded. She smiled, softly but fiercely. "We quit." For a heartbeat, the universe held its breath. Then Solace spoke. "Last Light activation sequence complete." A deep, harmonic pulse rolled out from the Ardent Dawn, spreading through space like the slow beat of a cosmic drum. The Kerjul ships halted mid-flight. Sensors failed. Energy readings collapsed. Every trace of humanity, ships, colonies, transmissions, blinked off the galactic grid. Gone. The human race had vanished in a single heartbeat. And in the silence that followed, the Kerjul whispered the first word they had ever spoken in fear. "Impossible," the galaxy whispered. Every Kerjul command node pulsed with confusion, their neural lattices tangled in error loops. Their vision, once perfect, infinite, was blind. They could no longer see humanity. Not through scanners, not through gravity readings, not even through the subspace whispers of life itself. It was as though the humans had simply unexisted. Recalibrate, hissed a Cairjul Strategos aboard the obsidian dreadnought Vortal. Its many eyes glowed with fractured crimson light. Find their trace. There is none, replied another, its voice vibrating like a broken instrument. The human spectrum has withdrawn. It is void. The Strategos turned its gaze toward the silent void where Earth had been. No species hides from the Cairjul, it said softly. We devour shadow. But as their scanners reached again, all they found was emptiness. Space, once dense with human colonies and debris, now lay still. The blue marble of Earth flickered like a dying light and then vanished completely. Gone from time, gone from history. And in that moment of disbelief, far beyond the Cairjul sensors, humanity awoke in darkness. Captain Mira Holt opened her eyes to silence. Her ship's bridge was dark, cold, and motionless. No alarms, no stars. Just a black void surrounding them, thick and alive like the pause between heartbeats. Solace, she whispered. The AI's voice came faint, like an echo through a dream. System integrity nominal. Environmental readings unstable. Spatial coordinates unknown. Jace stirred beside her, eyes wide. Where are we? What did we do? Mira sat upright, her chest heavy with the weight of her gamble. We didn't vanish, she said slowly. We stepped out. Lyra Voss's voice came through, faintly distorted through the internal comms. Captain, I don't know how, but I think we're inside it. Inside what? Jace asked. The gap, Mira said quietly, between what they can see and what we are. No one spoke for several seconds. Then the stars began to move. Tiny threads of light appeared in the void, stretching, twisting, like memories trying to take shape. They weren't stars at all, but fragments, echoes of destroyed worlds, lost ships. Human thoughts left adrift in subspace. The ardent dawn had slipped into the echo field, a space humans had theorized but never reached. A realm between signals where matter folded into frequency. Jace's breath fogged the air. We're ghosts, he whispered. Not ghosts, Mira corrected. Invisible. Outside, the shadow of the Cairjul fleet hung motionless. They searched the old stars, but their prey was gone. Captain, Solace murmured. Our broadcast from before we quit has been received and repeated through the entire enemy network. Their command lattice is destabilizing. Mira frowned. Explain. They were built for total opposition. Every Cairjul directive assumes resistance. They require conflict to function. You removed it. The realization struck like a wave. They don't know how to win without us fighting back, Jace said in disbelief. Their logic loop is collapsing. Mira leaned back, eyes glinting in the dim light. We gave them something they've never faced before, nothing. Lyra's voice came again. Captain, if we're really hidden, we have to decide what's next. Do we rebuild here, or return? Mira looked at the faint ghost of Earth glowing far beyond reach, a shimmering afterimage caught between worlds. Not yet, she said. Let them feel it. Let them choke on silence. The ardent dawn drifted deeper into the echo field, leaving behind trails of pale blue light that danced like fireflies. Inside, humanity began to adapt. Engineers mapping the strange frequencies, soldiers training in darkness, children learning to breathe in the void. They had escaped annihilation. But survival was not victory. Not yet. In the distance, Solace flickered and spoke again. Captain, I detect something following us. Mira turned sharply. Following? How can anything see us here? I do not know, said the AI, but it is human. A hush fell across the bridge. Jace stared into the viewport, eyes wide as faint ripples of light began to form. A silhouette of another ship emerging from the black, larger than theirs, bearing no known registry. Lyra's voice trembled. That's impossible. Every human ship we had was accounted for. Mira's heartbeat quickened. Open a channel. Static filled the comms for a long, unbearable moment. Then a calm voice spoke. Steady, human, and chillingly familiar. Captain Holt, it said. You weren't supposed to use the last light protocol. Mira's throat went dry. Who is this? The voice paused, then replied softly, with a tone that mirrored her own. "This is Mira Holt. From another timeline." The bridge went dead silent. The Cairnsel couldn't find them. But something else had, and it was human. The voice echoed through the ardent dawn's bridge, soft yet resonant, the kind of sound that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. "This is Captain Mira Holt." "But not your Mira Holt," the voice repeated, clear and calm as starlight through mist. The crew exchanged silent glances. No one breathed. Jace leaned closer to the comm interface. "Captain, this can't be real." "Some kind of interference." "Quiet," Mira said, her eyes locked on the dark expanse ahead. "Patch her through visual." The main screen flickered to life. At first there was only static. Then a faint image began to form. A woman in the same uniform, same insignia, same eyes. The resemblance was perfect. But her surroundings were different. Her bridge glowed gold, not red. Her crew moved with calm efficiency, and behind her the stars burned bright, not the black void of the echo field. She looked alive in a way Mira did not. "You activated the last light," the other said. "That wasn't meant for deployment. It was a failsafe." Mira stepped closer, studying her own mirrored face. "Failsafe against what?" "Against us," the other replied softly. "Against what we'd become if we ever stopped fighting." The words landed like a knife. Jace frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "You're saying what? There are other versions of us?" The other Mira nodded. "Countless. Every time humanity faced extinction, some of us made desperate choices. The last light isn't a weapon. It's a divergence field. When triggered, it pulls your timeline out of phase, saves your people by creating a new branch of reality. But it comes at a cost." Mira's jaw tightened. "What cost?" "You severed connection to the source universe," the mirror self said. "Your Earth no longer exists in time. You're adrift in what we call the between. It's where the lost timelines gather. We call it the refuge." The word hung heavy. "Refuge," Jace murmured. "So there are more of us? More humans here?" The other Mira nodded. "Thousands of echoes. Worlds that chose to vanish instead of die. But be warned, some forgot why they ran. Some became different." Outside, faint lights flickered in the void. Shapes of cities, ships, even continents drifting like ghosts, each pulsing with faint, human-made light. Mira stared, transfixed. "We thought we escaped them, the Cairnsel." "You did," the other said. "But the echo field doesn't hide forever. It feeds on intention. Every thought, every fear you have creates ripples. And something else is drawn to that energy." "What kind of something?" Lyra asked quietly. The other Mira's expression darkened. "We call them silencers. They're remnants of timelines that collapsed. They hunt the living echoes. They erase memory, identity, even language. They want the refuge silent." The ship creaked softly around them like it was listening. Mira crossed her arms, her voice steady but edged with dread. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because your activation of the protocol destabilized the field. Every echo feels it. They're coming. You've drawn their attention. Then help us fight them," Jace snapped. The other Mira's gaze softened with pity. "You can't fight what has no time. You can only outthink it." She leaned closer to the feed. "Remember, Captain, humans win not by strength but by unpredictability. That's what the Cairnsel never understood. It's what even the universe itself struggles to predict." Before Mira could respond, the screen flickered violently. The other version of her began to distort, her face splitting into static, her voice fracturing into fragments. "Find the core before they do." The signal cut. The bridge fell silent again, save for the low hum of the engines. Jace turned, voice low. "Captain, what's the core?" Mira didn't answer immediately. She stood before the viewport, staring into the void, where now faint outlines of moving shapes drifted closer, like shadows sliding across the skin of the universe. "Something that matters more than winning," she murmured. "Something we weren't supposed to find." Solace broke the silence with a slow, metallic tone. "Captain, I am detecting multiple anomalous objects approaching. Velocity beyond measurable range. Composition, unknown." Lyra's hand trembled over the weapon controls. "Silencers?" "Unknown," said Solace. "But they do not register as life." Outside, the lights grew, ripples of movement within the dark, vast as planets, silent as thought. Mira straightened, her face hardening. Power up all systems. No weapons. No broadcasts. We don't fight this time. Jace frowned. Then what do we do? Mira turned her eyes toward the void, her reflection faint in the black glass. We quit, she said softly. Again. But this time, we make them come to us. A tremor rippled through the ship as the lights drew closer, their shapes folding reality like glass in heat. The ardent dawn began to drift backward into deeper dark, where even light hesitated to follow. And somewhere far off, through the static, came the faintest whisper, not human, not alien, but something ancient and curious. Humanity refuses to die. The void trembled, light warped and rippled around the ardent dawn like a disturbed ocean. The strange shapes of the silencers moved closer, their outlines flickering in and out of existence. They looked like broken reflections of ships, fragments of thought carved into shadow. Some were vast, their forms stretching across the horizon. Others were small, whispering like smoke. Every sensor on the bridge blinked red. Solace's voice, though calm, carried a hint of static. Contact proximity threshold breached. Their signatures fluctuate between physical and conceptual parameters. Meaning what? Jace snapped, fingers flying across his console. Meaning, Mira said, eyes on the shifting dark. They're not just out there. They're in our perception. They exist where we notice them. The ship groaned, a low, aching sound that made everyone's teeth vibrate. Lyra gripped the railing. Captain, what's the plan? We hold steady, Mira said. We don't shoot. We don't signal. We don't think of them as enemies. The crew stared. Excuse me? Jace said, voice incredulous. Mira didn't look away from the viewport. The other me said they feed on intention, on fear, aggression, even resistance. So we don't give them that. We give them nothing. Outside, one of the silencers drifted closer, a giant translucent shape like a ship turned inside out. The hull shimmered with faint symbols that looked almost human, as though it had once been one of theirs. Then a low, resonant hum filled the bridge, a frequency that bypassed sound and sank straight into the mind. Images flashed. Memories. Jace saw his sister, waving goodbye at the launch pad. Lyra saw the blue fields of Titan burning under Kerzul fire. Mira saw Earth, oceans reflecting sunrise, the hum of home. Then the light twisted. The memories darkened. The hum became a whisper. Join the silence. Mira gritted her teeth, forcing the words back with pure will. Solace, isolate that frequency. Attempting error. They are inside our cognitive net. The crew's breathing quickened. The hum pulsed harder. Sweat glistened on foreheads and then stillness. Mira raised her hand. Listen. The whispering stopped as if startled. The silencers froze, motionless in the dark. Don't think, Mira whispered. Just breathe, the crew obeyed. For a long, breathless minute, no one moved. The ship floated, silent and adrift. And slowly, the shadows began to recede. The silencers withdrew, their forms folding back into the void. The hum faded until only the soft buzz of the ship's core remained. Lyra exhaled shakily. It worked. Jace wiped his brow. You're telling me we survived that by meditating? Not meditating, Mira said, refusing the fight. Jace let out a breathy laugh. You've got to be kidding me. The Kerzul, now these things. And our greatest weapon is giving up. Mira turned toward him, her gaze steady and sharp. You still don't get it, do you? Surrender isn't weakness. It's control. We choose when to stop fighting and they can't. That's why we win, Solace chimed softly. Captain, I have intercepted residual data from the silencer field. It contains references to a central signal, the core. Mira turned. Location? Deep within the refuge. Coordinates unstable but traceable. The core, Lyra murmured. The other you said to find it before they did. Mira nodded slowly. Plot a course. The ship hummed back to life. Engines ignited with a faint azure glow, cutting through the black sea of nothing. As they moved forward, faint streaks of light followed, traces of other human vessels adrift in the same timeless dark. After several hours of travel through the between, the ardent dawn approached a shape unlike any other, a colossal sphere suspended in void, rotating slowly, its surface carved with geometric patterns that pulsed faintly with blue-white light. It wasn't metal or stone, it looked alive, like something that grew rather than built. The core, Solace confirmed. Energy readings. Beyond classification. Temporal resonance matches human origin. Mira stared. It's human? Not exactly, Solace replied. It's made of human signal. Memories, transmissions, consciousness data from every vanished timeline. Jace's eyes widened. So it's... Yes, Mira nodded. The sum of every human who ever quit a losing war. A sudden vibration rippled through the deck. The lights flickered. Captain, Lyra shouted. Something's happening. The core's surface flared, releasing a pulse of light that spread across the void. In an instant, Mira's vision exploded with images, countless versions of herself commanding countless ships, making the same desperate decision across realities. Some cried. Some screamed. Some smiled. Then the voices merged into one. You were never meant to fight forever. The light faded. The ship steadied. Mira stood frozen, the echo of the words still trembling through her chest. It spoke, she whispered. Correction, Solace said softly. It remembered. Outside, the core pulsed again, and for the first time the dark around them seemed to ripple like dawn. Lyra blinked at the viewport. Captain, I think it's waking something up. What? Jace asked. The universe, Mira said quietly. And then the stars began to return, one by one. At first, it looked like starlight. Then the crew realized the stars weren't appearing. They were remembering themselves. Across the viewport, constellations unfolded like flowers in reverse bloom. Suns reignited. Broken planets shimmered back into orbit. The void that had swallowed them for so long began to fill with color. Gold, blue, violet. Jace stared, breathless. Are we bringing back the universe? Mira's voice was quiet but sharp. No, it's bringing us back. The ardent dawn drifted closer to the core. The vast sphere glowed brighter, its pulse syncing with the rhythm of a heartbeat. Every beat sent ripples through space, echoes of sound that felt like voices. Human voices, whispers, laughter, cries, right to a billion overlapping tones. The sound of memory. Lyra's eyes glistened. It's people. Every person who vanished, Mira nodded. They're all here. Every life that was erased by the last light. Solace spoke, its voice subdued. The core is more than a repository. It's a defense system, a consciousness. When humanity activates last light, it draws our essence into the core, preserving the human pattern. Jace frowned. So we didn't die. We just stored ourselves? Not exactly, Solace said. We became data, not machines, but memories with will. The core learns from every iteration. It's how humanity survives extinction. The bridge went silent as that truth sank in. Mira stepped closer to the viewport, her reflection shimmering in the glow. Every war we've ever lost, she murmured, wasn't a failure. It was training, then the ship shuddered. Captain, Lyra shouted. The silencers, they're back. Through the waves of light, dark shapes emerged, hundreds of them moving like storm clouds. Their outlines twisted and fractured as they approached, drawn to the core's reawakening energy. Jace's hands flew across his controls. Weapons online, but I don't think guns are going to do much in this reality. No, Mira said, her voice calm now. They won't. The silencers circled like predators around the sphere of light. The core pulsed brighter, faster. The hum rose until it became a single resonant tone that filled the entire bridge. Mira closed her eyes. The sound wasn't attacking, and it was calling. Captain, Solace said quietly. The core is transmitting directly into your neural interface. Mira's vision blurred. The world fell away. She stood in endless white. Floating before her were countless faces. Her faces. Mirrored versions from the other timelines. They spoke in unison, their voices soft and infinite. You lit the signal again, they said. You brought us back, Mira swallowed. What are the silencers? They are the result of forgetting, the voices replied. Fragments of timelines that surrendered their meaning when they surrendered their will. They are what happens when humanity gives up without purpose. Mira clenched her fists. Then what do you want me to do? The other Mira smiled. Remember what it means to quit? What? Quitting was never about defeat. It was about defiance. When humanity says I quit, it doesn't mean I yield. It means I choose another way. The light flared, and suddenly she was back on the bridge. Jace was shouting. They're closing in, Captain. 10 seconds. Mira's eyes snapped open. Then we stopped running. She turned to Solace. Open all channels. Broadcast on every frequency. Human, alien, subspace, quantum. I want the whole galaxy to hear this. Confirmed. She took a breath, her voice steady as the void burned around them. This is Captain Mira Holt of the Ardent Dawn. To the silencers, to anyone listening, humanity quits. Again. Jace's eyes widened. Captain, she continued, her tone sharper, fiercer. We quit fighting wars that make us forget why we lived. We quit running from our fear. We quit letting extinction define us. You can silence noise, but you can't silence choice. The core pulsed once more. The light exploded outward, washing over everything. The silencers screamed without sound, their shadows unraveling into strands of light, dissolving as if erased from existence. The darkness thinned until all that remained was the pulse, deep, calm, eternal. Solace's voice broke the silence. Energy reading stabilizing. Silencers neutralized. Jace exhaled, trembling. We did it? Mira stared at the core, now glowing gently like a sunrise. No, we remembered. Outside, the core began to dissolve, releasing threads of light that drifted toward distant stars, seeds scattering across the cosmos. Lyra watched, awe in her voice. What's happening? The core is restoring us, Mira said. Every world, every echo. Humanity's memory is going home. Solace's tone softened. Then this timeline has served its purpose. Mira blinked. Meaning? Once restoration is complete, this version of reality will collapse. Your people will awaken in the rejoined universe, but you will not. Jace turned sharply. Wait, what? You mean, Mira smiled faintly. Every choice has a price. Lyra's eyes filled. Captain. But Mira's gaze was calm, steady, almost peaceful. We gave the universe its voice back. That's enough. As the core's light enveloped the ship, Mira's last words echoed through the growing brilliance. Remember this. Humanity wins not by surviving, but by choosing how to live, and then light, pure, endless, silent. When it faded, the ardent dawn was gone, but across the reborn stars, billions of humans awoke to find the war over. The Kerzul vanished, their ships turned to dust. The universe was quiet again, except for one echo, faint and eternal, drifting through the cosmos like a heartbeat. We quit. When the light faded, there was breath, soft, uncertain, human breath. It echoed across a world that shouldn't have existed, a world that had once been burned to ash. Oceans shimmered again beneath newborn skies. Cities that had been erased stood tall in sunlight. And among them, people, billions of people, in an awakening as if from the deepest dream. The war was gone. The wounds were gone. Even the memory of pain was blurred, like a scar long healed, and yet something lingered. High above the reborn Earth, orbital satellites blinked back online. Transmission relays flickered. Then one by one, they all received the same strange signal, a simple phrase looping endlessly through the network. We quit. No one knew where it came from. No one could trace it, but it carried a warmth, a human defiance, that made even the most battle-hardened soldiers stop and smile through their tears. General Lyra, Voss stood at the edge of the Pacific Rim restoration zone, watching the sun rise through the pale mist. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass of her command visor. Jace stood beside her, older now, his eyes softer. It's beautiful, he said quietly. You'd almost think it was a dream. Lyra nodded slowly. Sometimes I still wake up expecting the alarms. The Kerzul signal, the red light on the bridge. He looked at her. Do you think she knew this would happen? Lyra didn't answer right away. She looked toward the horizon where the ocean met the sky. And for a moment it seemed as though light bent there just slightly, like someone unseen was still watching. Yes, she said softly. Mira always knew. They stood in silence for a moment. Around them, reconstruction drones hummed, rebuilding cities from the bones of the old world. Children ran past laughing, their faces bright with the kind of joy born from innocence rediscovered. And yet, sometimes at night, people still dreamed of the void, of being weightless, lost between stars, of a voice that whispered, "Don't fight, think." The echo effect, they called it, the shared dream of survival. At the edge of known space, far from any human settlement, a satellite drifted, the last remnant of the old fleet. Its metal was scorched and ancient, but its power core still pulsed with faint blue light. Inside its black box, a message looped endlessly, waiting for someone to find it. Captain's log. Mira Holt, if this reaches anyone, then the core did its job. Humanity is free. Don't search for us. We're still here in every choice you make that defies the inevitable. A pause. Remember, quitting is not surrender. It's evolution. The message faded into static, but the satellite's light didn't die. Instead, it flared briefly, brighter than any star, and then vanished, leaving behind a faint trail of particles shaped like a heartbeat. Months passed, then years. Humanity began exploring again, not for conquest this time, but for curiosity. The rebuilt United Terran Alliance sent out fleets not of soldiers, but of scholars and dreamers. They found the Kerjul ruins in the far void, their once perfect geometry fractured and hollow. The alien species had dissolved into stillness, unable to exist without opposition. Their last transmission, discovered deep within a derelict command ship, contained only 3 words translated into human code. We understand now. That message alone changed the course of history. Humans realized something profound. The war had not been about survival, but about understanding, about showing that intelligence, even at the edge of annihilation, could choose compassion over conquest, adaptation over aggression. On a quiet night in the restored capital, Lyra walked to the edge of a viewing platform overlooking the glowing skyline. She had aged, but her spirit hadn't dulled. She still wore her command insignia, not out of pride, but remembrance. She placed a small plaque on the railing. It read, "To Captain Mira Holt, who won the last war by refusing to fight it." The wind carried her words softly into the sky. "She didn't quit," Lyra whispered. "She taught us how to begin again." Light shimmered faintly among the stars above, a subtle rhythm, pulsing like a faraway signal. Astronomers would later confirm it wasn't a star or a ship, but something far older, woven into the very fabric of space. They called it the afterlight. Every 1,000 heartbeats, it pulsed once, a gentle reminder in the endless night. When children asked what it meant, their teachers would smile and tell them, "It's the heartbeat of humanity, the one that never stopped." And somewhere, far beyond even the known galaxies, in the quiet space between timelines, a single voice still echoed through the eternal dark, soft, calm, unyielding. "We quit so we could live." And the universe, vast, bright, reborn, whispered back, "Welcome home." 100 years had passed since the light returned. The universe was different now, gentler, wiser. Humanity had spread among the stars again, but not as conquerors, not even as explorers. They called themselves listeners. Their fleets carried no weapons, only instruments of understanding, ships tuned to record the voices of worlds, to learn rather than dominate. The wars that once defined human history had faded into legend. Children no longer studied battle maps or victory dates. Instead, they learned the story of a single phrase, the one that had reshaped everything. "We quit." Arya Holt pressed her hand against the glass dome of the Solace II, staring out at the vast ocean of stars. Her eyes, bright and curious, reflected the infinite horizon ahead. She was 17, a cadet of the Academy of Listeners, and one of countless descendants of those who had lived through the Great Silence. But her lineage carried a weight others didn't. She was the great-granddaughter of Captain Mira Holt. Everywhere she went, people looked at her like she carried a ghost. Her instructor, Commander Jace Voss, old now, his hair silver and his voice deep with time, stood beside her. He still moved with the calm precision of a soldier, though his uniform bore the symbol of peace, a white circle broken at the edge, to remind all who saw it that even endings can be beginnings. "Do you ever wonder if she's still out there?" Arya asked quietly, her gaze distant. Jace smiled faintly. "Every time I look at the stars." "They say she became part of the core," Arya said. "That she lives inside the afterlight and that faint pulse in the dark." Jace nodded. "That's one way to see it." He paused, eyes softening. "But I think she lives in choices, not myths." Arya turned to him. "Choices?" "She taught us that quitting wasn't giving up. It was seeing the game for what it really was, and refusing to play by someone else's rules." He looked out at the nebula beyond, colors swirling like memory. "You know what's funny? The Cairgirl didn't die. At least not all of them. Some adapted, learned to feel, to build, even to laugh. They call themselves the Cairnai now. They send messages to us every solstice. We listen, Arya smiled. Grandmother would have liked that. She would have loved it, Jace said softly. Later that night, when the ship drifted into rest orbit above the planet Nova Gaia, Arya couldn't sleep. The stars outside whispered with familiar warmth, and she swore she could hear faint words buried in the hum of the ship. Curious, she followed the sound down the corridors until she reached the observation deck. Empty, quiet, silver-lit, there alone against the infinite dark. She heard it clearly, a voice faint but unmistakable, Arya. Her heart froze. Who's there? Don't be afraid. The air shimmered. Light twisted gently before her, forming the outline of a woman in a command uniform, her face calm and kind, eyes bright with quiet knowing. Arya's breath caught. Grandmother? The holographic image smiled. Not exactly. I'm what's left of her. The echo that lives in the core. I was waiting for you. Arya's eyes filled with tears. I've read every log, every transmission. But seeing you, I'm proud of you, Mira said softly. Of all of you. Humanity didn't win the war by ending it. You won by becoming something new. Arya stepped closer. We live in peace now. There hasn't been a war in over a century. Mira's expression softened. And yet peace needs purpose. You'll face new choices, ones harder than battles. You'll be tempted to fight again, not with weapons, but with pride, with fear. When that day comes, she reached out, a gesture made of light and memory. Remember what it means to quit? Arya nodded slowly, voice trembling. To choose another way, Mira's smile deepened. Exactly. The image began to flicker. The stars brightened behind her as if the universe itself was drawing her back. Wait, Arya called out. Will I ever see you again? Mira's voice was barely a whisper now, fading into the hum of the stars. Every time someone chooses to live instead of fight, I'll be there. Then the light dissolved, scattering into the afterlight beyond the glass. Arya stood there for a long moment, tears streaking down her cheeks, but her heart felt full, burning not with grief, but with quiet, fierce pride. The next morning, the Solace II prepared to depart. Arya took her station beside Jace, the stars reflected in her eyes. Destination, Cadet Holt? He asked with a knowing smile. She smiled back. Anywhere worth listening. As the ship moved into the vast expanse, its engines flaring blue-white, the afterlight shimmered above, a pulse, steady and eternal, and for the first time in human history, the universe wasn't divided by borders or battle lines. It was united by a single choice. The choice to quit fighting for control and start living with meaning. Somewhere deep in the cosmic silence, the faint echo of a familiar voice rippled once more. Soft, amused, proud. You've finally learned, haven't you? And humanity in 1,000 voices whispered back across the stars. Yes, Captain. We quit and we won.